Easy, welcome to the Asylum. It's me, Gunnar, in the chair of destiny, joined this week by my able compatriot, the Dude.
Hello.
How are you, fella?
I'm good, mate. I'm good.
Your new nickname is the Gravedigger.
The Gravedigger.
Yeah.
Go on.
I saw you in a suit the other week, didn't I?
You did. I did look like an undertaker.
You did look like an under. I'm just gonna. The Gravedigger's got a better ring to it, fella.
Hey, listen, I was a dude before the Lebowski. That's all I'm saying.
He's the original Dude, so you must
mate,
be like
I was before.
okay.
Yeah, I was before the Lebowski, man.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
The Dude is joining us anyway. It's me, Gunnar, as always. And we're joined this evening by a friend of the Asylum, Mr. Steve Mera. Good evening, Steve.
Good evening, guys. How are you?
Very well, buddy. How you doing?
Wonderful, wonderful. Thanks for having me on.
As always, buddy, we've spoke to you many times over the last couple of years. You've always got something insightful to say. You always teach us many new things. And,
Most definitely.
And a thoroughly lovely chap as well.
Indeed. And wears some great tweed suits.
Yeah, doesn't he?
You should see my wardrobe. They're all tweeds.
Oh, dude, they're amazing. You're the best dressed person I've ever known.
It started years ago, doing work for television. And every time somebody saw me, came back and said, well, look, can you wear the same stuff? Can you do this Walter Mitty type? And I thought, oh, bloody hell. And I ended up with just typecast with clothing and on all these different shows. So yeah, you should see my wardrobe. I've got a wardrobe for all the stuff I do for TV.
Fantastic.
And then I've just got like my jeans and t-shirts and stuff.
So have you ever thought about changing the long tie for a dicky bow?
I'll try.
You haven't seen all the pictures, have you?
It started off, yeah. There was a few TV shows I did with that, and I did an investigation at Woodchester Mansion for a television show, and that was in a dicky bow, and then I did a number of other different things. One place not too far from you, actually, which was the Newstead Abbey.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
So towards that direction, anyway. So, but yeah, I did. But do you know what? Uncomfortable is not the word.
They're not now. Not unless you've got a little bit of elastic one, because you don't want to be tying them things all the time, do you?
Yeah.
Steve, you have got some impressive clothes, but that is not the reason why we have you on the show tonight to talk. Honestly, although there's probably more I could say on this. Actually, you do have some nice suits. But Steve, what have you really come to speak to us about tonight?
Onstellar, which is a new social media hybrid platform.
Hang on a minute. So this announced in an absolute sort of array of flashing lights and beautiful music, this incredible new platform via the internet called Onstellar, did you say?
It is. It's called Onstellar. Yeah, because it kind of ring, because I'm Onstellar, so it's a social media platform. It's a hybrid. It's the first of its kind. It's rolling out in June. And like I said, we've had surveys carried out to make sure, what was all available over the internet. Nothing like it. It's unique. It's the first of its kind. We think it's going to be a big success.
Wicked. Steve, before we get into that, I know you're very busy. You do a lot of talks around the country, around the world. What's coming up for you in 2018? Where are you going?
Well, I'm lecturing this weekend at the Mysterious Earth Conference, which is in Preston, which is Neil MacDonald's. He does the megalithic tours, and he has a place in Preston every year. He runs a 2-day event there. I'm going to be talking about ancient discoveries for a big 2-hour lecture actually on that. And then I think next in April in Watford, I'm lecturing for the UFO Truth magazine there, which is their smaller event that they do each year.
All right.
This is the Southern Conference.
It is. It's known as the Southern Conference in Watford, yeah. And then nothing really until June, where I am at Contact in the Desert in Palm Springs, doing a couple of things actually. We're lecturing on the Peruvian mummy case.
All right.
So it's the first lecture revealing the information. So we're kind of giving them an exclusive as to what our findings are.
Oh, can't we sneak that out of you now, Steve?
Hang on a minute. We did this 3 months ago, buddy.
And then on to Las Vegas in November.
See, that was definitely sidestepped then.
Oh,
Did you see that?
Yeah.
That was perfect.
Yeah, all I can say, guys, it's we set out to investigate these bodies as we know that were discovered in Peru, mainly Maria, and it was our job to go in there, say it as it is, and basically just blow the lid on it, because we thought everything was a little bit hokey. However, that's not exactly right. It's not.
Oh,
okay.
No,
That's intriguing.
And this is really what kind of we ended up taking a step back and thinking, whoa, hang on a second, this is not what we expected. And some of the results that we got are absolutely incredible. So we're going to be sharing that with Victoria, Contact in the Desert, and no doubt I'm doing information with Linda Morton Howe. She's going to have the exclusive information just prior to the end of May. And then, of course, she'll obviously be putting that out around about the same time that we're delivering it to Contact in the Desert as well. So there's numerous reporters that have been on our tail about this since day one. So we've held them off at bay. But, we're basically going to pull the plug and just say, look, there it is. There's the information, distribute it as you want. And we're just going to say it as it is, but it is a very intriguing story, yeah.
We were lucky to interview before Christmas on this, Steve, and it's not exactly as people think, is it? There is, like you say, far much more to this story.
There is, yeah, that's exactly it. I mean, apart from it being a bit of it'd make a great movie, to be honest with you, but
oh, yes.
apart from the espionage, in a sense of speaking, and the corruption and stuff that we had to wade through, and the problematics and death threats, actually, as well, it's a crazy place, Peru. It really is. And but we stuck with it. We managed to get a second lot of samples. It took a long time. People have been asking, and when you don't hear anything, you think, oh, well, you said you were going to do this, and now you're not. But the thing is that these guys, they take months. These specialized tests that are carried out take months. And of course, all that's accumulated now. They've all come in, and we've had discussions. We've been on the phone with, I think it was at a conference call, 5 different professors and doctors on more than one occasion, and we've got all their information documented. And it would seem it's not everything is what it seems. As I say that.
There we go, Daz.
Unfortunately, Gunnar just left me in charge then of the mixing desk, which is never a good idea. I'm bad enough on the radio when I'm on my own.
We're trying to very silently get down. I need to cough.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's keeping me going at the minute.
Nothing worse.
Steve, you've got another announcement to make, haven't you, when you're at Contact in the Desert?
Well, we were dealing with Onstellar. I'm also actually doing the investigators training course now. So many people know the British Investigators Training Course. It was established in 1995. We have 26,000 students worldwide. But do you know what? We've decided to give it a complete overhaul. And it's gone from something stupid, like from 280 pages to nearly 500.
Oh, wow.
Just on the ufological investigation course. We're incorporating into that a lot of the American stuff, because we're going to be launching it in America with Steve Murillo's organization, which is UPARS LA. That's UFO and Paranormal Research Society in LA. And we're going to be jointly doing this together as a training course, a 3-hour extensive training course, and then the full course given to the participants at the end of that at Contact in the Desert as well. So we're kind of running a class as well as doing a lecture there.
That's going to be brilliant. So you're going to be doing one of the, I guess, extra, like the classes that they do there. They kind of do, what do you call it? What would you call it, Darren? Look, what's the word I'm looking for?
I don't know. You haven't told me.
What do they call it, Steve? What do they call it?
What did they call it?
What do they call it? It's like, it's not, oh gosh, what is it? It's
Give us a clue.
Oh, it's in my mind. There you go.
It's in your mind.
Well, see. I knew you'd got some psychic skills, Steve. Yeah, workshop. That's what I was thinking. So you're doing a workshop on I guess the investigators training course as well. You run both a ufological one and a paranormal one, don't you?
Well, yeah. There's a ufological course. There's a paranormal course, because believe it or not, in this society, there is people that believe that UFOs are not associated with paranormal not associated with UFOs, and that isn't exactly the case. There's a psychic ramifications of UFO experiences, and there are a lot of things associated with paranormal between them. But there are people that just kind of just want to stick to their areas. So for that reason alone, we devised the UFO course, paranormal course, and of course the British Investigators Training Course Complete, which covers anomalous phenomena. So in that you'll get additional stuff like cryptozoology, the supernatural, the strange found, 14 events, mysteries, that sort of thing. And of course that comes in 2 levels, the basic and the advanced. So there's kind of 4 courses at the moment. Which we operate.
Steve, how important then is it that people around the world have a recognised training course which they can go to learn these type of skills if they wish to investigate? I mean, there are lots of people around there, aren't there, on the internet across the world who are fascinated by this stuff, who have some brilliant methods, some great insights, but perhaps lack the general overall, I guess, investigator skills that you get from a course like this. I mean, how important is it, Steve?
Well, it's really important because the fact is that if you really want to do something incredible and you want to get involved with an organization, then, I can't think of any better course. I mean, we've looked at all the courses in the world.
Yeah.
And we were really shocked how out of date these courses are. I mean, some of the courses are referring to things that don't even exist anymore. As technology's changed, and methods have changed, and we utilize the best type of equipment. And then we're not talking, EMF meters and stuff, K2s and things like that. We are talking proper technical equipment, the best things to use. The new advanced areas in research into magnetic anomalies and association to ufological events, and a little bit about that. So, and of course, we want to let people know about these new findings, what's the best type of equipment to use, and just different ways of investigating, because there are numerous different ways, believe it or not, of investigating the ufological phenomena. Some people just like to, do it from the computers or laptops and do a form of research. But there are those that want to go out and get their hands dirty, in the sense of speaking, get into the active investigation side. But it's basically how to, right from beginning, right from being a novice through to being a professional, in all aspects of ufology and subsections to ufology, because there's over 200 subsections to these subcategories, you could say, to ufological phenomena, be it the crop circle phenomena, be it the mutilation phenomena. There's lots of little different things which people can focus on if they want to solely get involved in that, or it gives you the big picture as well. So it covers everything from conspiracies to UFOs outside Earth, NASA UFOs, and all sorts of things. So it is a very comprehensive course. We've just finished completing the new UFO course, which is absolutely enormous. We didn't expect it to be so much. But I have to say, and I have to say thanks to the guys that have assisted with us, because for us, it's about putting the most up-to-date and credible information in. And what we've done is we've gone to the experts of the world. Well, if you want to call them experts. I mean, really, the experts are the ones that are flying them. But to be honest with you, the professionals, should we say, within their genre. We've gone to them, and you know what? We had an overwhelming response from them saying we'd love to help. So for an example, we went to Paul Daverow, who provided some of the critical information regarding Earth-like phenomena, earthquake lights, and all sorts of things like that. Absolutely fantastic. And that's as an example what we've done with around about 50 of the top professionals around the world, which have come together and provided the sections that they needed to put into the course. Because one thing we wanted to make sure is that the students are getting exactly the right type of information. It's authentic, it isn't, there's no fake stuff in it. It's already been tested and proven by many of these professionals. It is credible information. But most of all, the course is hyperlinked. It's really been a digital course. Now we have hundreds of hyperlinks in it, which will take students, when we're talking about sections, to certain videos, certain platforms, certain documents, photographs. So basically, it's like a self-taught lesson, in a sense of speaking.
That's amazing. That sounds really interesting.
I've got a copy of the old course, and I can't wait to see this new one. Steve, I'm going to go on record and say this. I wouldn't call them professionals, because there's been at least 4 crashes, apparently, through history.
That's right.
Were they crashed or shot down?
Well,
you see.
Well, they're obviously not trained fighter pilots either, are they?
Definitely not.
In that matter.
Yeah, but if they got one of the old Rogers from the Spitfire days, they've got no chance.
I saw Independence Day, and they took it down with a crop duster. Okay,
and then he punched him in the face.
Isn't it?
Well, like a natural virus of the earth, maybe, or
or it was. And in fact, when it was Mars attacks, it was some dodgy.
Hang on a minute, are you slating Tom Jones?
It's not unusual to slate Tom Jones.
Hey, I didn't see that one coming.
You didn't know.
Steve, I mean, it is really interesting, this sort of stuff, but when you mention it, and it's kind of interesting because researching ourselves here at the Asylum and what you do, it's very much a community orientated kind of endeavor, isn't it? It's not something you can almost do by yourself, particularly with the way the world works nowadays.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
when you're researching, I guess, if I was, let's say, I've got a photograph and I send it to someone around the UK who can look at a photograph. Now, I know there's some blooming brilliant people around the UK, and particularly I'm thinking of people like Jason Gleaves, who's just got a book out at the moment.
Yeah,
But, you know, if I was to send it to someone and they weren't great, or they made a mistake on whatever part of the piece that evidence is, effectively the whole research then unravels, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, I mean, do you know what we found is that when you really do have to do your research, because we found that information that was incorrect right at the beginning source of the stories
Yeah.
is circulated and carried on, and it grows and it grows and it grows, and before you know it, it's become fact. It's written into books.
Yeah.
People are reading them, and they take it as factual. But when you actually take the time to go out and research and go all the way back to the original stories, you'll find that there's elements of that that might not be true. And that's took us in a completely different direction on many occasions, with even some of the most significant, incidents that have been reported throughout the years.
So what would you say then, Steve, talking about UFOs and stuff, is the number one UFO case that's ever happened in Britain?
Oh, it can only be one, surely.
Well, we think, but
Yeah, I mean, of course, Rendlesham always comes to mind, but let's get it right, guys, because there were a lot of incidents prior to Rendlesham, which are very, very significant. I can certainly name one which took place just around the corner from you guys, and which ties in with the Travis Walton incident,
It does, yeah.
What's this? This isn't the Cosford incident, is it?
This is it took place in Staffordshire. So.
This
Hang on a minute. It's the roaster. It's Jesse
Rostenberg.
There
of
you
course.
got it.
With the
And
Nordics.
of course, because absolutely Travis Walton's, and it was never shown in the film Fire in the Sky. Obviously, they kind of dramatized what happened in space or in the air, and made it kind of the horror kind of sort of grey alien type of thing, didn't they? But the reality was
They were Nordics.
They were Nordics, yeah.
Yeah.
That he was actually treated by the Greys, who he believed saved his life. And then when he freaked out and he got back to his feet, he ran away and he basically bumped into all the Nordics, didn't he? And this is, and you sent me the photographs of this as well when we interviewed as Rostenberg, Jesse Rostenberg's son, and the photographs are unbelievably accurate as well. So similar.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, take into consideration, that drawing was done prior to Travis's. Distributed. But Travis, look at all the polygraph tests that they went through. The Robbins are clearly telling the truth. This is what they experienced. Whatever they experienced, they believe it's true what they experienced. And that means that gives even the original case in Staffordshire that little bit more credibility, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And
we've seen some great stuff from us, didn't we?
Oh, we were so fortunate. Yeah, I mean, his dad was he used to draw, didn't he? Like
an
architect, technical drawer. And the images that he drew following that incident or following that event were amazing. And many of these have never seen the light of day. And to sit there with as Rostenberg, Jesse's son,
us these pictures,
as he goes through it,
phenomenal.
and I'm like, oh my God, Daz, we're literally leafing
history
through
on our hands.
UFO history right now, and a famous piece of UFO history, and a lot of stuff that still hasn't seen the light of day as well. So hopefully,
we can
conjunction with the Asylum, mate, we might see that in the next couple of years.
Well, fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. But no, Steve, coming back to that point, it's important then, I guess, that as a collective, as a group, that the standards are raised right around the world. So it's interesting you're talking about working with America, working closely with people across the planet. It's important to bring this community together, isn't it? And importantly, I mentioned this because of what happened recently with Tom DeLonge and the Tic Tac UFO, and particularly the picture that you researched in 2005 and turned out to be a #1 Mylar balloon from a very well-known.
It was, yeah, and it was. You know what? It was a stupid mistake they made on their behalf. I mean, I don't believe for a second they did it on purpose, because, it's just too bad. You could come up with something a lot more, that could catch people out. But no, it's an oversight, and it's a massive oversight.
Could it have been misdirection, though, Steve?
Oh, well, it is. And of course, for those people that have been involved and were following it and even invested in the program, that it's not good for them, because they're thinking to themselves, well, if this could happen, then surely it could happen again. And of course, they really do need to tighten down. The downside of that is that they really did wait too long to come out with some explanation as to how that happened. I was screaming and shouting, as you know, Ian. I was screaming and shouting from my end, as my small part of the country here, to the world, saying, I mean, every day I was seeing something coming up about it. It was in the press, it was on the news. George Knapp covered it in Las Vegas on one of the news channels, and I kept emailing these guys, and I got no response. I kept putting it over Facebook, no response. I thought, I'm just laughing here. I'm thinking, how long is this going to go on for before somebody actually picks up on one of my emails,
Yeah.
or Facebook comment or whatever? Eventually, the first person was Grant Cameron.
Yes, who has been really vocal about
yeah.
this as well.
Yeah, and he had a good long chat with me. And before I know it, Jimmy Church picked up on it, and that is when he went to town. But what I had to do for that to happen was, with the frustration of just not getting through to people, that I ended up going to the press. And the Express ran a very good story about the photograph, and the Express actually contacted to the Stars Academy on 2 occasions to inform them and ask for a response. They never did provide a response to the Express, but at that point they realised. And then of course Jimmy Church picked up on it, and I had a chat on the radio with him about it. And it's not good. It's not good. And it was simply a case of a UFO sighting that took place over Eccles, Manchester, around about 2005. I went out there at the time when I was investigating it, didn't know what it was, and we didn't. It was right about the end of 2005. So I think around about January, February of 2006, from what I can remember, we went to that location roughly the same day, at the same time, same weather conditions, and the wind was blowing in the same direction. We did a number of tests, realised it was an actual balloon. So we put that information out, and and somebody's obviously picked up, because we only posted it on one place on the internet. It was only ever seen on the Jeff Rent's radio show. It used to be Sightings radio show.
Yeah.
And there it was left. Somebody picked that up, light blasted it to some degree, and brought the brightness up to make it slightly look altered. Now that's what makes me suspicious.
Yes, 100%. Because now
because
the original image has been altered.
It's digital quality, guys. You pick that image up and drop it somewhere else on the internet, it's going to look identical, pretty much. You wouldn't notice the difference by the naked eye, but somebody purposely lightened that photograph, and that's what I was suspicious about. But it's the cat's out of the bag. They made a statement. It was far too late. It'd done the damage. It should have come out on that straight away. That was a mistake. But they're gonna have to kind of win the people back, really, in the case of speaking. A lot of people have been really shunted, really, in regarding the process of their investigation standards, really, to be honest.
This is one of the reasons why I mentioned this, Steve. Now, I know another thing that's kind of happened, this is now the photograph has been attributed to you as if you took it, which is incorrect, of course. You were researching it. But this is it, isn't it? And, no, I never thought in my mind, I know that we spoke to you, you told me on the phone, of course, about it being a balloon right at the offset. Of course, I'd seen that report from you before anyway. I'd actually looked through it. So I was aware of it, and I thought at the time when I looked at it, it looks a little bit familiar. But I never really sort of connected the 2 dots until you told me. But then I never once thought to contact people in America and go, hey, do you realize this is a balloon?
It's a balloon, yeah.
Well, they were going crazy with it over there. They were even introducing it to conferences and all sorts of things.
Now we did a show about it, Daz, just before Christmas surrounding this, and we talked about it. We mentioned it being a balloon, and it wasn't for another 4 weeks till I heard it on the Jimmy Church show, Fade to Black, and where you went and spoke about it, and I was thought, there's an issue there. There's something that we can learn from this, because as a researcher, I feel like I haven't done my job if I haven't passed that information on to the relevant people, almost in some respects. And I know you were trying to do that as well, but
do you know how long it took? It took 3 months.
3 months.
3 months, almost 3 months from the initial start of this for it to come to light, for people over, around and about who was dealing with this photograph, to come to light for the full story. Now, it just goes to show that there is some fragmentation there. That people aren't getting in contact. I mean, when I'm emailing people, and I've got these guys direct emails, I'm not getting responses back. I'm thinking to myself, okay, interesting. And yet I can see some of these people posting these news items on their social media pages. So I'm thinking to myself, well, there is a story to this, and that isn't true. That's not the right story. Whatever this video, I mean, it's even questionable about the video. There are some researchers, and I've talked to them, some very well-known researchers in the ufological field throughout the world, mostly in America, that are even questioning the actual video, the authenticity of the video.
Steve, yeah.
Which they're going to, aren't they?
Well, you and I did this just the other week, Daz.
I think it's just misdirection. I think they're putting the information out there, then they're deliberately trying to debunk it.
Yeah.
So they can say, "Well, we told you so."
Yeah, it's not a good for those who are investing. I mean, I have looked at the business plan. I mean, luckily, I'm quite good with regarding business and stuff. But I've looked at a business plan with Tom DeLonge and the Academy to the Stars. What is it now? Academy to the Stars.
To the Stars Academy.
First phase of Academy, isn't it? So
Yeah.
To the Stars Academy.
The business plan could be a lot better, guys. You know, the business plan looks more like Tom DeLonge's getting it as opposed to putting it back in. And really, I think he needs to, you know, is iron out a few things. People can really get the wrong opinion about that. You know, I mean, don't get me wrong. I think it's great that the fact is somebody's out there and wants to make this effort to try and bring something like of the skunk works around again. But do you know the money that's involved in that?
Yeah,
It's
you're not going to do it for £250,000 or for £2 million, which they're raising. I mean, I'm not being funny.
Not buy a set of lugs for the wheels, mate. No, of any aircraft. No, then what he's got to do something significantly different. You know, and shoot for things a bit smaller and do it in phases. Really, as far as I'm concerned, because that's just too much. You know, to say that you want to reach, well, it'd have to reach billion. You'd have to literally, you know, to do that.
Do you think he's been kind of made a bit of a stooge? Do you think it's fair, the criticism that Tom DeLonge is getting?
Well, do you know what? Is the public figure is the face of this. We don't know that Tom is, you know, directly associatable. You know, I mean, it could be other people at play. And of course, utilising Tom because he's a public figure.
Yeah.
People know him. You know, I mean, I've seen him on television. You know, I've seen him make some silly statements about videos. And I just I feel sorry for the guy. I feel, look, come on, Tom, for flipping heck. You know, you wouldn't even dare say anything's authentic unless you absolutely 100% know.
Do you know, Steve, it's so true.
You wouldn't even do it to do it on a mainstream TV channel for people to see when he's actually currently got this program going. It's bad practice, and someone should be taking him in hand and saying, look, if you're going to be the face and figure of this, then there's certain things you need to know and there's certain things that you need not to do. You know, because for most people that saw that have no interest in the academy because of that, and that's a shame, because principally there might be something worth, you know, investing for. But it can get lost in amongst the mess and the problems that's been coming out from the academy for the last few months.
We're just looking at the video now, Steve, because I watched him on the Joe Rogan show. And what I found fascinating about this was he was able to give flight characteristics, the way this thing traveled in the air. You know, he was talking about, you know, the types of, like, the propulsion system it may use, advanced technologies. He was talking about, you know, like out of this world metals. And then he goes up and goes, yeah, I'll get this video up. And then he shows a video which is of a known hoax. The video was initially, the triangle video was from Paris, I believe, in 2001. It then resurfaced in 2004 from Wolverhampton, the exact same video.
Yeah. I mean, it was pretty much sussed out back in the first time it came out that it was dodgy. It's definitely, you know, CGI is involved in that. Absolute, you know, you got, for those that look at it on a regular basis, and Jason Glees will tell you this, you don't even have to do the analysis. You just have an eye for,
you know, can see it.
CGI. Yeah, exactly. But the downside of this is that, believe it or not, the way the Tic Tac photograph that was of this balloon that was photographed over Eccles, because it was in a blue sky, perfectly blue sky, which doesn't happen much in the UK, as you can well imagine, because summer's normally on a Tuesday or a Wednesday.
Yeah, if you're lucky.
Yeah, if you're lucky. But people were, because tied it in with the, and this is how psychology works, this is how perception's altered, is that they showed the video of this object. Clearly it looks to be above clouds and things, but it was, according to the report, was photographed over the ocean.
Oh,
okay. Then they see this slide of this photograph over Eccles and immediately thought the blue sky was actually the blue ocean and the photograph was taken above.
Yeah, no, because it looks like a top-down picture when you talk about the Nimitz photograph. Yeah,
so that's how the brain does it. It kind of looks at the video, takes the information, and builds that image.
Do you know, Steve? I looked at the transcript of what was said during that piece, because I actually went back and they were talking about this, and I saw somebody from America post about it, and I said, like, is it time almost to call BS on this now? You know, are we at a stage where, you know, this needs to be called out for us to to protect the narrative, but to kind of keep it legit, really, in some respects, to keep
Oh, yeah,
to keep everything above board.
yeah.
And what got me was I looked into this and I actually thought, does he actually say anything about it? Does he literally point to the screen and go, "That's the UFO there, that's a Tic Tac," or does he say something else? He doesn't.
No.
What he does, he actually posts it up and he goes something like, "People in the military are absolutely amazing. They never take drugs, they never get anything wrong, and they are amazing observers. In fact, they're so goddamn good, they will never," literally like that. And as he does that, the image flashes up, and then he flashes to another image, another camera shot showing it in sort of full screen. And he goes on again and sort of reiterates again. And it's like, well, they've never actually said this image behind me directly
No.
is a picture of that, but
There isn't.
it can be
It's
inferred.
psychology.
Yeah, it
It's
can be inferred. Yeah, from what he
Psychology
says.
101.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's psychology 101. You know, you're talking about it, you're bumping people up to make it very positive. Then you throw the image in, they immediately, you know, that authenticate the image because of what he's saying, even though he doesn't make no direct connection. You know, it is very, very cleverly put together, I have to say. You know, but there seems to be some mechanism throughout the whole release of this, which is, you know, I'm kind of, well, you know, it doesn't sit well with me. Jimmy Church was certainly upset. You know, he felt, as he said in his own words, "I feel dirty," you know, because he was putting this out, you know, and then he realised what it was. But I have to take my hats off to the guys in the UK, because the guys in the UK got behind me, you and many other people, you know, and with all our voices, we managed to reach out across to Americans and kind of shake them and say, "Hey, you know, you're wrong." And I have to take my hat off to the guys that supported me on that, because it needed it, to be honest. It's, you know, I mean, you'd think I'd have a voice, you know, I'd get around, I'd travel all around the world lecturing, but surprising for something to go for 3 months like that until it's picked up just goes to show how it works, how fragmented that information can be passed from person to person, even just across the pond, you know.
I think it really is important, Steve, because ufology needs to work together on this, doesn't it? I mean, one of my big concerns about this is the fact that Tom DeLonge and his group almost can direct the narrative because of the business. I mean, how does the business fit into this? Is that a concern? Is that something that you worry about, that people are putting money into this?
Yeah. I don't know. From the research I've carried out, my personal view is that there's a considerable amount of money to be made here, but the business plan is in favour of Tom DeLonge, and he's had a number of business plans and companies, which has been to his advantage. For me, it's a bit of a poor business plan. It's a bit of a poor insight as to where they want to go with everything and what is. I mean, I'd lay it all out in stages as what that money is going to be used for and where's it going, and then you'd really go to town on, you know, your public appearance. You know, how you got to be careful about public appearance and the things you got accountable to the things that you say and do, and it doesn't seem like he's getting that guiding as far as I'm concerned. You know, so maybe that people are utilizing him to deliver information, and that is a great plan, fine. But to have him deliver the information, I just don't think he's skilled enough to do that. To be honest, I think the best thing that he can do is put some of that money to use and just get a guy who knows what he's doing, knows what to say, knows how to deal with the public.
Ha! You, Steve.
Well, I wouldn't want to do it, but but do you know what I'm saying, guys? You know, he needs to take a step back and let somebody take the reins on this, because, you know, the amount of damage that they've received just over the last 3 months, you know, it's going to take them a long time to recover, I think. I really do.
So true, Steve, but they don't care about us, do they, as ufologists? And my big concern about this is the public. The mainstream public. It's like, we know what the deal is. We understand that that's a balloon. We understand that it isn't the Tic Tac, that there are concerns around this. But the mainstream media and the public as a wider whole don't get that, perhaps, at sometimes. You know, they don't do the research, they don't have the understanding that we do, and they're just being fed that information. So it's important that both we get this together in terms of ufology, and particularly us in the UK and contacting America and working closer together and making sure that we understand this.
I think we need to pat ourselves on the back in the UK, because, like Jimmy Church said, you know, us guys in the UK really know how to do it. You know, we're really on the ball. You know, we're very, very critical of, and there's nobody more critical than ufology in the UK, is there? You know, but we're very, very critical. And be honest with you, that's lost a little bit across the different states of the US.
I think
You
what
know,
it is though is that as Brits we tend to be a bit more disbelieving about things and think, yeah, where's the catch? What's this going to get for me?
could be that,
You
yeah.
know you know what I'm saying?
And I think we need to be sometimes. I
Yeah.
mean, I've said, you know, give credit when credit's due. You know, I mean, if there's enough information and enough evidence to say, then say.
Yeah.
You know, but you wouldn't, you know, but then of course let out the information that brings you to that evidence. You don't just say this is what it is. Prove it what it is. You know, but the way that it was put together, the way the announcements happened, and the images behind at the same time, led me to believe that there was some push on certain things that took people in a slightly wrong direction. Maybe I don't know. It's a shame, but I do believe he can recover from this. You know, but I believe that he really needs to sit down with whoever's involved. If he has a board of a committee or something, he needs to really seriously sit down. Some directors need to tell him and say, look, you know, stay off TV. Don't open your mouth so much.
Yeah.
You know, because, you know, simplest mistakes which can happen can usually be the most dramatic, you know, the most devastating, really, can't they?
Well, just come back and bite you on the ass, don't
They kind of just now. My concern is, Steve, with this as well, is the major part of his business plan is centered around a media arm that disseminates information, slightly changed information to some degree, but information nonetheless based on what he believes he's being shown or he's being told. There's a dangerous precedent there, isn't there? In the sense that if we don't
leave a gap in the door,
well, this is it. But I mean, like, if we're not holding them to account and making sure that they're being honest and they're being truthful and they're giving us the correct information, and then because I mean, I don't think they care about us too much, but this is about the wider public, isn't it? This is about the general public.
Yeah.
And when you know, there's probably 1 million people, in fact, 10 million people, if not a lot more, that are wandering around still in the belief that that is a picture of that UFO.
Yeah, this is a problem, you know, because someone out there, you know, may have just missed the fact that the Jimmy Church show, the few of the articles that brought it to light, they followed the stuff for the first 2 months, and basically it's pinned up on their board as a factual incident now.
Yeah, exactly.
And they'll keep that in mind and spread the news, you know, and this is how it happens. And unfortunately, just as I said earlier, you know, in 10 years' time, that still might pop up somehow, somewhere, and it'd never be true.
Yeah, photographed by Steve Mera, the Nimitz UFO from 10,000 feet.
Yeah, because Jimmy couldn't understand. He said, "Look, I don't understand, Steve." He says, "You took the photograph and you ultra photograph."
And then you didn't notice when Tom DeLonge spread it all over the world.
But do you know what? I think, you know, they're going to have to do some work. They're going to have to. They can come back from it if they do it properly. But they need to do it and do it now. To be honest with you.
Does it have the hallmarks of a misinformation campaign, of a psyop?
Well, do you know what? There is that possibility. You know, people have suggested that. I mean, I know a few people are more into the conspiracy theories than even I am, but have they suggested that? Yes, side by side, you could say it could be. But then so can be a lot of natural incidents and mistakes that can happen. Just rushing at something can cause mistakes.
Yeah, it can. Yeah.
So, but some people will never get away from the fact that others will think it's a conspiracy theory. But they've got to convince those people. They've not got to convince me, because I know accidents can happen. But they've got to convince these, especially the people that have invested.
Absolutely.
You know, they need to be convinced.
Absolutely. People are parting with their hard-earned cash, aren't they? I mean, the concern is that it becomes a government misinformation campaign. They create this massive media, you know, stars and light kind of thing, or whatever it is, TV company, and then they disseminate misinformation, or they adapt stuff, or they change the narrative. Now, that's the fear, isn't it, from the conspiracy theorists, that they're going to be fed a line by the government almost in order to keep this thing a secret. So I think us as ufologists and researchers and people who are passionate about the subject, you know, for the benefit of ufology, the wider public, and these guys at To the Stars Academy, that if we do that work and we do that due diligence and make sure that we, you know, the things are being double checked and we're communicating amongst ourselves, that we can at the very least kind of keep this as honest as possible and make sure that everybody is moving in the right direction and not, you know, it's not going down the wrong route. Because it'd be the difficult thing is, and one of the things I was looking at the other week about a psyop and about a misinformation campaign, one of the things they would do is sow discord, set people against each other, create confusion, create chaos. all of those things have happened, Steve. I mean, when we break it down, we've got the photograph, which was photographed by Mr. Steve Mera. Sorry, researched by Mr. Steve Mera. We've got the Nimitz video itself, which had previously turned up online some 3 or 4 years earlier, I think, which Isaac Coy brought to everyone's attention. It also contained additional footage that isn't on the Nimitz footage that To the Stars Academy brought out. It also contains no audio. So now you've got a question about the audio that's in there as well. Now, me and Daz, we looked into this about the seemingly military acronym. That's not LRSO, is it? Did he say? So you've got all these things that are kind of mixed up. Which bit of this story can we actually look at and say, well, that's true?
Yeah.
Because ultimately, we can't. I mean, the government can't even admit that they released it. And the first thing you read on their website is this has been cleared by the official channels for release. So it's like, if you've made mistakes, fair enough. It's easy enough to do. Everybody in ufology at some point, researching or otherwise, will make them.
Mistakes have to happen to you start to think, hang on a second,
Exactly.
Be that daft,
Exactly. Well, I said we speculated about this. Me and Daz talked about the game tic-tac-toe, the object of which is to basically confuse and beat your opponent. And ultimately, if played correctly, it like the game, the film War Games, it's played to an impasse and the computer realizes there's no point playing itself. Well, then me and Daz started to look into the more multifaceted aspect of, if this was a game of tic-tac-toe, and we came across the game Reversi or Go, which has multiple kind of strands. And we were looking at AIs that had been taught to play this game and how it would think 30 steps ahead and then work out probabilities of like 75% chance if we go down this route, it's going to work out that we can win the game. And it will reassess when it gets 30 moves down the line. Then I kind of hatched this really conspiratorial idea of
as only Gunnar can.
As only, well, yeah. And a few other people on the internet, let's not lie. But no, I kind of hatched this with, what if, like, you would almost take if it was a misinformation campaign or a psyop, they'd be better placed using an AI to do it, wouldn't they? To work out all the probabilities, because...
Well, yeah, I mean, but if you're dealing with general people, to public, then, because of the dealing with different types of psychology and perception, is that it's a great way to conduct a survey to find out, how information is spread,
yes, exactly,
of it, and how fast how does it take for someone to come up and figure this out.
This is what I mean. Was it basically a test in that sense that they placed their X and we had to place an O? Now, thank God, Steve, that you're around and you placed that O for ufology. But ultimately, is that what's happened here? Is it a test to say that, how long is it going to be before somebody realizes this is a picture of a balloon? And then the AI works out and goes, well, there's a 65% probability that in 8 weeks' time, Steve Mera is going to appear on Jimmy Church's radio show.
Yeah, I mean, if I was to say, look, well, let's do a psychological test, a social experiment to find out how many people can we fool for a length of time.
Yeah.
Let's put out some, incorrect information, and we'll do it in a certain way, and let's just see what the public are like. What's the response we're going to get?
How gullible
to take them?
Yeah.
That sort of thing. Absolutely. Yeah, tests have been carried out like that before. Social experiments. Absolutely.
And this is it, Steve. If it hadn't have been worked out, this could have gone so much further down the line, couldn't it?
It could have done. Do you know what? I would have ended up having to travel somewhere and shake somebody and say, "Look, wake up!"
I took this photo.
Yeah.
But would you have been wearing the tweed, Steve? That's the most important thing.
Well, I don't know. The tweets may have to come out for that one.
And then we know it's serious.
We know it's serious when he's got them little circular specs on. Them John Lennon specs and the tweed, mate. You know it's serious. This is a balloon, says Steve Mera of the UK.
Yeah.
Steve, we'll hold you there. That's the end of hour one, buddy. We'll bring you back in a few minutes. All right.
No problem, Paul. No problem.